it is a moment of nostalgia because we're about to get into some environmental conversations with regards to Forest 27, etc., etc. But I am surrounded by CBU men, and I'm feeling some kind of way because the nostalgia in here is skipping me because I was at UNZA. So I have to say it's a pleasure to invite or to have with us in studio Dr. Ruben Lembani, who's an environmental scientist, among many other things. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the nostalgia between the two of you.
Kobuso, viva Kobuso, viva.
He's more on the come end, Yoela. You are the troublemaker, CBU.
I can't refuse. I told you how I used to run down to the... He knows. Go to my stream na pipe, so...
Doctor,
long story.
Is this true? Is there truth to
it's
this?
Correct. That's the landscape of CBU. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I used to go there balancing into Nkana East.
But thank you so much for joining us.
It's a big pleasure, and thank you for having me.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, an interesting discussion that we are about to have with regards to Forest 27. I was actually there yesterday. I was like, wow.
Really?
I drove, I didn't go in there, we drove past Forest 27. But anyway, Doc, before we go into those details, tell us about green spaces and urban health. Let's look at the broader picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe to start with, we want to retaliate that this is a very hot topic within the country.
Extremely.
Obviously because of the individuals and the elite, who've been actually allocated some pieces of land there to construct their residentials, etc., etc. So if we are to talk about the urban green spaces, we are saying that these are critical and sensitive ecosystems to big cities such as Lusaka. Mm-hmm. And obviously they play a very big role in terms of providing solutions for climate change, in terms of ensuring that there's a livability or improving the quality of life to the citizenry of urban areas such as Lusaka. And based on the Sustainable Development Goals, which Zambia is a signatory, emphasis, or Zambia has signed up, to ensure that, it keeps on encouraging and advocating for green spaces. And if you were to look at the SDG number 11, target number 7, emphasizes the need to have inclusive and universal access to these green spaces, more especially, for the women, for the children, older persons, as well as people with disabilities, because it improves their quality of life. And a lot of studies actually have been conducted to confirm that having green spaces in huge cities like Lusaka, it improves the quality of life. Yeah, so that's the importance of green spaces.
So having said that, Forest 27 in particular is a green space.
That's correct.
So can you tell us, I want people to just understand the negative effects of what transpired around that forest up to where we are now.
Or tampering, the negative effects of tampering with green spaces, allocated green spaces.
What is the environmental importance of Forest 27 in particular for Lusaka?
To answer that question, first of all, we need to understand where we are coming from. So in Lusaka, as you might be aware, about the soil profile of Lusaka is mostly covered by bedrock.
Yes.
Okay. So in 1942, the British colonial, administration, they allocated 2 forest reserves. The first one was the Forest 26, which was located in the Lusaka South. And we know the history of this. This has been completely degazetted, and we have the Lusaka multi-facility, facility.
It must be that area.
Exactly, and we have that's where we have the Lusaka National Park.
Yes.
This was the best friend to the famous Forest 27. Now we have the Forest 27. Now, having talked about the characteristic of Lusaka, underground system, we are saying that it's mostly covered by bedrock.
Yes.
And this is evidenced by the fact that if you were to have continuous rainfall for 1 hour, the whole Lusaka literally is waterlogged.
Yes.
Because that bedrock prevents water from percolating into
the ground,
into the ground, into the aquifer layers.
Yes.
Okay. So this, during the British colonial regime, the two forest reserves were strategically positioned so that they act as, catchment areas, as well as areas where water can be percolating into the aquifer layers. Now, having lost already the Forest 27, the only dominant and obviously sensitive, ecosystem in that aspect is the Forest 27.
Yeah. Oh, you mean having lost Forest 26?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from that ecosystem, that's where we have the majority of our below ground water entering through, and individuals like those ones who reside in Chalala, Makeni, and those who dig boreholes, they are benefiting from the aquifers, from the underground waters, because of the significance of the Forest 27 in allowing water, to percolate and go into the aquifers. So now with, the degazetting, and we need to be clear here, it's not complete degazetting of Forest 27.
Okay.
This has been happening in stages, So a small portion is degazetted and subdivided into residential areas, into commercial plots. And it's always important to mention that this is not the first time encroachment is taking place in this area. It obviously took place in the 1950s. The area was partially degazetted up until 1983 when it was officially degazetted. And during the MMD regime, it was regazetted again in 1996 after realizing the importance of this ecosystem, to our water system.
Dr. Lembani, I have to ask, why is it so easy to degazette and regazette, and why is it so easy for encroachment to happen when clearly it is so important for the nation, for the continent, for everybody to have these green spaces protected? Why is it so easy for people to just come and build houses and come and do whatever they want? And I'm looking at what you're telling us now. This is not a yesterday or last year or the past 2 years situation. It's been happening. Why is it so easy? Is there no one we're accountable to? Okay,
yeah, that's a very good question. To start with, we need to understand that Lusaka is an economic zone of Lusaka. Obviously, the new president has done well to actually move some CDF money away from Lusaka. So there's always demand and pressure for individuals to come to Lusaka and settle in Lusaka. So that obviously evokes the need or the demand for land within the city. There's so much demand. Even myself, I've been looking for a piece of land within Lusaka. And everyone literally. And this is an opportunity for the elite people to abuse, the geographical location of Lusaka, or rather the Forest 27, so that they could equally have pieces of, land and own some properties within Lusaka. So that's the major challenge. And we also need to appreciate the fact that the population keeps on rising. And obviously that translates into demand for, land. And we need to emphasize that every human being, every citizen has got the right to own pieces of land. And we don't want to deny them.
No, but pieces of land in the designated areas, this is why people are building on rail lines. But coming back to
That's correct.
The conversation. So I'll ask again. I mean, we had COP26 just a couple of weeks ago. And these same elite people, I'm talking about elite nations, where they were asked, why are you not doing this? You said you're going to donate, how much is that, $1 billion? Towards this per nation, so that you fight climate change and you play your role. A lot of companies, big companies, are being forced to pay carbon, what do you call them? Carbon
tax.
Yes. So people are answerable and they know they can't do certain things. Here in our city, okay, before I even go to the rest of the country, in our city, is there anybody who will say, you are not allowed to do this? If you do this, these are the consequences, before people encroach? I would like a solution before the encroachment is done, as opposed to after it's already done and we're just sitting back complaining, oh, Forest 27. What can be done? What's the solution to prevent this to actually happen at all?
And thank you for bringing up the COP 26, and obviously we have the Paris Agreement
we also
before that. And what we need to also mention is the fact that by the 1942s, the size of Forest 27 was about 1,800 hectares. And we've lost literally 60% of that, that area extent. So we are literally remaining with just over 700 hectares of land. So this is encroachment or activities that are actually threatening the ability of future generations of Lusaka to continue having access to our water resources. And of course, the media, coming to your question, the media, as well as, environmental advocates like ourselves, we have a moral responsibility to help arrest, such wrongdoings. The government might be there, but if the media and us mouthpieces for these natural resources and ecosystems, we are not able to speak and advise the government at the right time to say the encroachment is too much, then our future is very bleak. So in terms of ensuring that we arrest, we curb, or we put an end, to this encroachment, the media and obviously environmental scientists, myself, we have a moral obligation to ensure that we play our part. Interesting, Doc. Now, as we wind up, I'll ask you two questions. Hopefully you can answer within a minute. So should the decision to demolish property in First 27 is the right decision, considering the history? So I'm thinking, as you've said, from the 40s, so State Lodge area, New Kasama, New Mpika, all those are Forest 27, because they're just neighboring areas of the greater Forest 27. But should the demolition go on? Secondly, what recommendations can you give to future possibilities of other areas that are potential